Hello, Year 12. Welcome to the first in this week's lessons. And we're still in Paper 2 territory, always in Paper 2 territory. That's the exam that I get you ready for, but still definitely camping out around social diversity, but looking at question 4. So we've worked actually through a section A question, an evaluative essay way back when we were meeting face to face. We have looked at a question 3 and you completed those online for me and have done an amazing job. I've sent and emailed some of them back to you with marks on, and I do appreciate it's a bit hard that kind of sending back if you sent me a photograph, but your responses will be coming soon. And again, I was really encouraged by both the quality of work you're producing, but also actually just the way that you've been responding to the online learning. So thank you very much. So we're in the territory of journalism, okay? Recognizing that section B, question 4, is a journalistic response. And last week, we began to introduce some of the parameters of that, what it means to write like a journalist, what the question demands. And often the journalistic task can be one of those responses, exam responses that people either love or hate. It's very Marmite. Some people love the challenge of thinking creatively and writing creatively. Others, it's like their nemesis. It's the one that creates the most anxiety. So we are looking at offering kind of like anchor points, okay, of very set ways, almost the opposite of creativity, the very kind of ways that we can plan and fake creativity. Once we've established those processes for faking or creating a pattern, a model for creativity, you will then have the opportunity to grow in confidence over time and for it to become more authentic and more natural. So I do appreciate the process I'm going to take you through today has a lot of what we call transformation in it, where we look at what another writer has done and then we transform it. So we might change words or phrasing slightly to make it our own. Now we do this to immediately eliminate that voice, that soundtrack that kicks in that says, I'm not creative, I can't be creative, this isn't my thing. And so by taking out the immediate demands of like a blank canvas where you are being creative with a blank canvas, it's going to build your confidence and stop you kind of telling yourself you can't do this. So we looked last lesson at creating a peg bank. Okay, look at these lovely variety of pegs that you can use arresting and extended metaphors, dramatization, anecdotal moments. You can make popular culture references, high culture references. You can create a particular perception or different points of perception, different ways of looking at the topic. Now, we're going to build on these and return to our journalistic kind of page as well, the headline, the stand first over this week. What I need you to do, though, is to wake up your brains. So I'm going to give you a couple of like quicker starter activities, okay, to kind of revise and get you thinking about this learning. So your first task, okay, now, just to show that pegs are what we call cohesive devices, that they work all the way through the article. We are going to see on the next 2 pages, but you have them in your own notes. So if you want, you can just get the articles out and do it for both. You don't need to wait for me to move across the screens. But all I'm going to ask is, looking at the final paragraph, what pegs can you identify? What pegs are being used in the final paragraphs? So we've got our lovely peg sheet here. So you could say, is there a popular culture reference? Is there a particular anecdotal moment? Is there any dramatization? Is there any extended metaphors? So in this paragraph, you're going to press pause in a minute. I would say you don't want to give yourself longer than 3 minutes per paragraph. Can I spot those pegs in action? So you're going to look at the final paragraph of the Chi Lu article. You're going to look at the final peg of the Katie Edwards article. And then we're going to come back together in about 3-4 minutes and just see if we can identify those pegs. So you've got the paragraphs in your notes, in your copies of these articles, or you can just kind of move across the screen like this, like I'm doing, which is slightly annoying. And just see, can you spot any pegs? Now, there's definitely 1 per paragraph. There might be more than 1. So you can definitely spot at least 1 peg per paragraph. I'll see you in a minute to go through the answers. Okay, so we're going to look at the Chi Lu paragraph first. Now, I've just highlighted this on my screen because we've seen with the Katie Edwards stand first and byline that we get her credentials at the beginning of the article. Sometimes you might get the byline information, additional information about the writer at the end. So at the end of this article for the BBC Work Life, we learn that Chi Lu is a computational linguist, don't even know what that is, and contributor to JS Tour Daily Linguist Obscura column. So we're getting again that rather than a foregrounding now, this kind of ending that reminds us that Chilu is credible, has a degree of expertise, and works in this area. But that's a little kind of side note. So what were the pegs? So we have got this final paragraph. Now, but practically speaking, if you look the part. Now, why would I have highlighted this? What's one of those pegs being used in the final part? Brilliant. Did you get it? The extended metaphor. So right back at the beginning of the work life article, we get this introduction, this established metaphor that's extended across the whole piece. And it's an extended metaphor to do with dress and the way that we dress, outfits, costumes. And here we get that final kind of reference, that cyclical link back to that metaphor, if you look the part. Now, this is really lovely as well, just as a cohesive device. If you intentionally say, this is my metaphor, I'm going to refer to it in the beginning and in the final paragraph, actually from a writer, from a A-level point of view, under exam conditions, it's a good way to secure some of that higher mark scheme. Okay, brilliant. So, but practically speaking, if you look the part and find it necessary and productive to lose a stigmatized accent, it's possible to do successfully on an individual level. Many people have, but at what cost? Rather than advising people to change a core part of their identity, it's important that all of us become more aware of our hidden linguistic prejudices. On a wider community level, for many, changing an accent isn't a viable solution to dealing with discrimination in the workplace. In the long run, tweaking how we sound to improve our career prospects, it just doesn't work. So we've got the extended metaphor. Now, although this is a rich paragraph, clear ideas, there's no anecdote. Okay, it's not anecdotal. We could argue that there's elements it's not telling us explicit stories, but it's referring to people many people have, but at what cost? So you could have, I haven't written it down on the page there, but you could have made, you could have talked about dramatization. There's definitely extended metaphor, referring to other people and perception. Okay, let's look at this one. Okay, so we've got, I adore where I'm from, the people I love live there. So we've got this very anecdotal closing, this return to the first person, very kind of emotive response. And what a load of old twaddle. We get the unique perception of a kind of writer who has something personal to say. So she maintains that anecdotal and that unique perception all the way through. What a load of old twaddle, a lovely old-fashioned expression, which means what a load of old rubbish. So a real clear, definitive shutdown of anybody that would discriminate based on accent. So we've got the anecdotal pegs and the perception. Okay, so that's just a recap on pegs. Next one. Now, I'm going to be feeding in over lessons different examples of articles, because the more we see of real articles in action, the more we can learn as journalists ourselves. So here we've got another article extract, tiny little bit of it. It's only covering our headline, stand first, okay, and byline. So my first question I want you to do, or task, I want you to look at the headline. Can you tell me whether you think it's functional or creative? And I would love you to give a reason for your answer. Can you tell me what sentence function or type it is? Now, function, we're looking at imperative, exclamatory, declarative, and those are kind of old school, what we call the C-grade criteria. If you can tell me whether you think it's simple or complex or compound, you are going to access higher parts of the mark scheme. And based on this headline, what are we able to discern is the topic and potential point of tension that this article is going to be addressing? Can you spot the byline? Can you tell me who the writer is? And look at the stand first. So the stand first is here just underneath this picture. Okay, elocution lessons are back in vogue, with many people seeking to disguise their regional accents. But shouldn't we be beyond this now? So I want you to see if you can explain a link between the headline and the stand first. Okay, so what would you say is a link between them? Could you label 3 aspects of language in the stand first? Again, this is open. This could be word classes, sentence types, but it's just to give you that practice of labeling. And is the overall perspective established in this opening? Would you say is it positive, negative, ambivalent? Is it an element of both? And could you give me a reason for your answer? Now, although we're not looking at this explicitly, From the table, you might have remembered when we looked at the table way to plan an analytical essay, we had this lovely encompassing word, graphological features. Ooh. Now, the two articles that we've just begun to introduce and feed into our lessons do have an interesting graphological element. They have pictures and captions. Now, again, sometimes we bypass the pictures and the captions because we think we just got to analyze the main article. But actually, this is one of those moments where we can tease out higher grade students because they are thinking contextually. They are looking at the whole picture. So although it might seem very faint to you, and I haven't given you a direct question, when we're thinking about the overall perspective, we do have a quote here, and it says, Daniel Lavelle with voice coach Jamie Chapman. To help me and my thoughts, I have to hand over a plastic spoon every time I arrive at an important word. The photograph by Graham Robertson of The Guardian. So it's also telling us where this article's from, The Guardian. So that might help, it might not help, but it gives it an image, it gives a graphological feature that potentially could be looked at. So I'm going to ask you now again to pause. Okay, I want to give yourself a generous kind of 5 minutes to work through these 6 activities. But they are starter activities. So if we're there longer than 6-7 minutes, we're spending too long. If you're here for the whole hour doing this, don't do it. Just say no. So put a timer on, check in with your clock. What time are you starting? And we'll come back and look at the answers together in about 6 minutes. Okay, off you go. Okay, so now let's see. I'm trying to play with animation, you might have noticed. So let's see how it works. So let's look at the headline. If you got that it is a functional headline, give yourself a tick. The rise of accent softening, why more and more people are changing their voices. It's not creative because it's not doing anything playful or creative with the language. There's no pun, there's no phonetic spelling. It's not cryptic in any way. It's what we call the functional headline. It's using language that is understandable, that is clear, and does what it says on the tin. It's a functional headline. It's introducing the topic. Brilliant. Now, if we were looking at what sentence function, now it's declarative. Why is it declarative? Because it begins with this subject, okay? The rise of accent softening. So it begins with the subject, then it goes into the verb, are changing their voices. So actually, although it's a longer headline, it's still only a declarative. It's a declarative one. And actually, because there's only one verb phrase, are changing, one verb equals a simple sentence. So the rise of accent softening, why more and more people are changing their voices. Now, this is actually quite common in headlines, although we haven't seen it yet, but I'm trying to broaden our experience of headlines. Now, what's quite common here is we use what we call nominalization. Now, nominalization in a headline is where we use a big noun phrase to kind of stand for the whole concept, the whole kind of point, the topic. So the rise of accent softening, this noun phrase here is really kind of a summary. It's like a title introducing us to what this whole article is about. It's about accents and it's about the adaptation of speech. In this case, softening accents. Now this colon is being used here, okay, to create the bridge across from this noun phrase into this part of the sentence. Why more and more people are changing their voices. Okay, so we've got the topic, accent softening, and then we've got this why more and more people are changing their voices. So this questioning, so this why, this is an article that's going to be looking to explain and give reasons for the change, why people are softening their accents, why they're changing. Brilliant. So it's a very kind of effective headline in setting up what we call the topic and then inferring that there's going to be tension. We're going to be looking to question why people are changing their voices. Okay? And more people are doing it, which suggests increase. That anchors to the use of the verb, the abstract noun, in this case, the rise of accent softening. Why more and more people, that there's an increase in numbers who are changing their voice. Now, again, we've got voices here being used as a synonym for accent. And that's why we can say that the topic is accents and the way people speak. And it's focused on the adaptation of speech and why people are doing it. Brilliant. So look at the byline, Daniel Lavelle. So again, this is a slightly different layout, but we've got a simple byline, name only. Okay, so we've not got any of the foregrounding, none of the credentials, it's not embedded. We've just got lovely Daniel's name over here. If we were looking at the wider graphological features again, we've got a little reference to social trends. So this isn't, they're not approaching this topic from a linguistic point of view, but actually that this is a trend, something that they've noticed in society, social trends. Okay, brilliant. And if we've been really nerdy, 20th of March 2019. So actually out of our articles, this is quite relevant, quite contemporary. Reminds us that the discourse topics, the topics that we look at A-level, will have contemporary relevance. They will sit within a contemporary landscape where people will be questioning and thinking about these issues. Okay, so let's look at our stand first. Okay, so we had to try and explain a link between that headline and the stand first. So I've said it's what we call, it's not explicit. You have to kind of see the implication here. So they start to use this noun phrase, elocution lessons. Now, elocution lessons take us over here to the idea that he's seeing a voice coach. But elocution lessons, okay, are a way in which people are changing their voices. So it's a link between changing voices of the title and how are they doing it, elocution lessons. So it's kind of expanding the ideas to suggest that people are changing their voices, but also then it uses this word disguise, maybe with the idea that they're hiding their accents. So up here, the rise of accent softening, why more and more people are changing. And now we get the expansion. Well, one of the reasons why they might be changing their voices is they're trying to disguise something. They're trying to disguise their regional accent. So we've got our link across from the title to the stand first, and it's expanding. It's kind of adding to the ideas of the title. And it's setting up that it's questioning this. Shouldn't we be beyond this now? It's questioning this idea of change. So yes, more and more people are doing it, but it's not saying that it agrees with those changes. Oh, I've accidentally pressed something. Okay, from the language labels, working from the top end down, it's a complex sentence. We've got the relative clause with many people seeking to disguise their accents. We've got interesting verb choices. Disguise. Disguise has implications and connotations of hiding and trying to put on a face, a mask, masking who you are. We've got this use of the we in that interrogative, the first person plural pronoun, but shouldn't we be beyond this now? So we've got this lovely use of the first person perspective. The modal shouldn't, you could have looked at that, or the connective but. So you could have looked at very different things. Just picking up on three, that's good practice. Now, did you think that overall the perspective was positive, negative, or ambivalent? Right, you could argue that initially it seems ambivalent. The rise of accent softening, why more and more people are changing their voices. There's no loaded language. There's no kind of tone or choice of words that suggest aggression or even that it's being positive. It seems to be quite ambivalent, quite neutral. It's a declarative that's giving us information, but it's not yet loading it. However, we could argue that the stand first does introduce what we might call an incredulous tone. But shouldn't we be beyond this now? It's that question, it's that final interrogative in the stand first that changes the tone of this article from ambivalent to actually something that's approaching this as a negative change. Shouldn't we be beyond this now? Shouldn't we be beyond changing how we speak and hiding who we are? So this lovely word incredulous means to be disbelieving or to question something. So we get this sense that Daniel Lavelle is questioning and doubting that changing accents, hiding, disguising our accents is the right thing to do. So actually that takes us back to the same attitude of the other two articles, isn't it? So we're getting a cohesive kind of shared perspective across all the articles we've seen so far, that changing your accent for the wrong reasons is wrong. Adapting how you speak because an external pressure is put upon you to be different, that who you are is not good enough. All of our articles are saying that's wrong. Yay, that gives me hope for humanity. Okay, so lovely. So we've got all these ideas. So what are we going to do with them today? We're going to actually start planning for our feature article. Now, we're going to write over the next few lessons a feature article about the attitudes towards the way people speak. And in this article, we're going to assess the ideas and issues that we've raised and analysed in text A and B. And we're also going to begin to argue our own. Now, as I said, I'm giving us a very kind of controlled plan and a controlled way of doing it for the first time, because I don't want anybody getting anxious about thinking and writing creatively. And I want to show how this model can set us up to be successful. And then we build on that success by becoming increasingly autonomous, increasingly developing our own journalistic voice. Now, the other thing about writing the articles is to recognize the importance of crafting. Now, if I said, off we go, we're going to write a whole article today. Yep, at some point in the future, you need to be able to do an article in 45 minutes. But we are slowing down the process. We are kind of like mulling it over, ruminating on each stage. So we really get an understanding of the rationale behind the process. So on this page, you'll see that this is what we call a complete kind of plan. We're not doing the whole plan today. We're going to do the bits highlighted in yellow. But we would always plan for style and substance. So any article that we write in the future, we would plan to include these stylistic features: a headline, a stand first, and a byline. An opening paragraph to establish the peg. A paragraph in which we deal with a theory in concept and idea, linked by a peg. Then in the next paragraph, we would introduce a theory in concept and idea number 2, linked by a peg. A theory concept idea number 3, linked by a peg. Theory concept idea 4, linked by a peg. The middle bit's repetitive, can you see? And when we come on to those sections, you'll see how we kind of create that pattern actually gets fleshed out. And then we would use or write a closing paragraph to create a cyclical link by repeating words and phrases from the headline and stand first, and an explicit mention of the opening peg. So they were trained and drilled in this kind of plan. Okay. Now over here, because we are now looking at attitudes towards the way people speak, we're going to introduce the topic and tension in our headline. We're going to expand the topic and tension in our stand first. We're going to directly address a view or idea expressed in the articles and whether we agree. We're going to reference one or both of the writers of the articles by name. Again, the substance, that's pretty transferable. Then we're going to do, this is building across lessons, by the way. This is not today, but we are going to write a paragraph about Labov. How do we transform what we know about Labov into the style of journalism? Then we're going to write a paragraph about Giles. How do we transform what we know about Giles? We're going to do Milroy Bernstein, and then we're going to end with explicit references to the issues in the articles and our kind of own opinion. So this is the bigger plan, the big picture, but we are zooming in over here. I'm pointing, but you can't see what I'm pointing at, the yellow. Okay, we're going to write today a headline, a stand first, and then tomorrow we're going to do the opening peg. Okay, now how are we going to do that? Oh my goodness, we're going to cheat. Okay, now cheat means we're going to be intertextually savvy. Now, what have we got here? We've got a little reminder that headlines can be functional or creative. They can be interrogatives, exclamatories, declaratives, imperatives, or any combination of those functions. Oh, and look at this. We have 4, that was a bit Jana. We have 4 of the headlines exactly that we've analysed from the first 2 text A and B. Does your accent make you sound smarter? Shut your face. I'm fed up being ridiculed for my regional accent in academia. Get away with accentism. I'm proud to speak Yorkshire. The rise of accent softening. Why more and more people are changing their voices. So we've got 4 headlines here that we know are examples of journalism because they're from examples of published journalism. So we know that they represent a variety of examples of models that we can use. We've got an interrogative. We've got an exclamatory and a declarative. We've got an imperative linked to a declarative. And we've got that very functional headline from the article we've looked at today. So far, so stolen. These are all stolen from the articles we've looked at. What we're going to begin to do together is adapt and change and transform each headline to make it unique to us. In other words, we're going to magpie and steal the model, the ideas, and we're going to start to change them to make them fit our ideas. Okay? And that's what we're going to do. So by the end of this little activity, we are going to have 4 headlines. And then we'll choose whether we're going to bank one of those or make one completely on our own. because that's the final bit, that you have complete them. You can be invited to just be free and make your own headline. Okay, so that's what we're going to do next. Okay, so we're going to think about attitudes towards the way people speak and how we can bring that into a transformed headline. Does your accent make you sound smarter? Now, I'm just going to try and just have to make the screen smaller. Now, we want to immediately model how this headline begins and ends. Does your blank make you blankly blank, 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 this? Now, we're addressing ideas and issues, so we can use some of the words on our left under our issues that we've already pre-planned to start to do this. Some people are angry that discrimination exists relating to speech and accent. There is a link between how we speak and how we are seen and treated. Prejudice exists towards certain accents and social groups. Teachers are being advised to change how they speak. Minorities are being singled out because of their accents. Now, we've also said, because we've seen it analytically, that the common perspective is that this degree of prejudice and perceiving people that speak a particular way with a particular accent as being less educated or intelligent is wrong. So I'm not going to argue with you today if you think actually it's perfectly fine to judge people based on the way they speak and that all working class people are a bit thick, because we know that's wrong. Okay, so I'm not even going to go there. So we're going to work from the perspective that we are championing. We're in agreement with these guys. We're up there with Kate Edwards, Daniel Lavelle, Chilu, that it is wrong to discriminate against people based on how they speak. So we're just going to start. Now, we need to show a little bit of transformation. So does the way you speak make you sound? Now, we could do what we call inversion. So this one is saying, does your accent make you sound smarter? We could say, does the way you speak make you sound less intelligent? Transformation. Now we could say, does the way you speak make you sound, I wish you were here talking to me, guys. Now we could just use a synonym for smarter, make you sound more intelligent. Now, guys, because we are modeling this process, you could create a whole list of does yours or does the way examples of of this headline. We're following the functional interrogative model. Does your accent make you sound smarter? Does the way you speak make you sound less intelligent? Does the way you speak make you sound more intelligent? We could say, does changing the way you speak, change how you are treated? So we've moved a little bit further away from the model, but we've got a series now of quick interrogative headlines emerging that are following that model, all of which are introducing our own articles from the view of attitudes towards the way people speak. So we've got 4 there. Now, I'm not saying you have to write down all 4, but I am saying I want you to have at least 2 examples of a transformed interrogative functional headline. Does your ... Okay? And you can see how we've started with that one and we've changed elements to end up with those 3. The other way is you can just steal one of those and think, I quite like that headline, Miss Deutsch. That's going to be mine. Okay, now we've done it once. We're going to do it again. Okay, so let's look at this next one. Now, not going to lie, the creative headlines are always harder to emulate because they're very unique. This is very unique to Katie Edwards. Now, the truth is, we're not Northern and we're not existing in academia. And the problem with journalism is creating that fine line between plausibility and, so in other words, writing in a plausible way. And that often comes from writing what we know. So we are not Northern, but we are what? Plymothian, Cornish. So when we say shut your face, is there any kind of like phonetic words or phrases that exist within Plymothian or Jannerisms that we could use? Now, if not, we could just take your and maybe say shut your face. We could just change that. Or rather than shut your face, what might I say? I used to love a song when I was a very young child called Shut Up in Your Mouth. It's a really bad song. Look it up on YouTube. So we could say something like, shut your mouth. So we're still using that kind of very strong, hyperbolic kind of emotive opening. Shut your mouth. Or what do we say to people from shut up, maybe? How do we tell people to be quiet? What's the colloquial expression you use? But anyway, so shut your mouth. Now, I'm fed up. Now, again, actually, that is an expression I would use. What would you use? Do you say I'm fed up, I'm frustrated, I'm annoyed? I actually wind my children up because I say that really grinds my gears. I don't think that would work in this phrase. But can you see we're thinking about the adaptation of language? Now, we are playing within an hour's lesson time frame. And I'm already kind of, by the time you're getting close to the end of that hour, so we might just get the headlines and bits done today. We might have to carry some into tomorrow. So again, if you were in a real exam and you're like there for 25 minutes going, no, you've misused your time. So there's a point where you're going to say, stop overthinking it. And you'll see with this process that some are easier than others. So shut your mouth. I'm fed up. I'm annoyed. I've had enough. I'm going to go for, I've had enough of being, now ridiculed. Now we're transforming. So ridiculed means mocked, scoffed. I've had enough of being scoffed at. Now we could say here because of, now regional accent, we could make this us now, yeah, of my Jana accent. Now I know we haven't looked specifically at regional accents yet, but we are known down in the Plymouth region for our Jana accent. Shut your mouth. I've had enough of being scoffed at because of my Jana accent. Now, a Janaism, yeah, where you go into. So where you go into, we could use that later if we were going down this route. So shut your mouth. I've had enough of being scoffed at because of my Jana accent. And actually, because doesn't work there then, does it? Because it sounds too cuz. So I could say cuz of my Jana accent. So I'm beginning to use the phonetic spelling in a creative way. Now, in academia, we know she goes on, Katie Edwards, to make the argument that she is a professional. So shut your mouth. I've had enough of being scoffed. I've had enough of being scoffed because of my Jana accent in education. Because I'm a teacher. Now, guys, we could all get away with saying education because you're students, I'm a teacher, so that could work. Now, that one was harder. Okay, now I could have just changed words. Shut your face. I'm tired of being mocked for my regional accent in education. So we could have just done that, yeah? So shut up. I'm tired of being mocked for my regional Now, the other way, teachers are being advised to change how they speak. So the last one we could do, just to show a little bit how we're moving away from the model in different ways. So shut up, I'm tired of being mocked for my regional accent in education. Okay, shut up. I'm offended at being told I have to change my accent if I want to be a teacher. So then I have done a complete change. Okay, so I am here, but it seems to have frozen my little webcam, but I am here, so don't be thrown off by that. Well, you can still hear my voice, so I'm obviously still here. Okay, so we're looking at transformation. So let's have a look then at this third type. So we've got the creative, the exclamatory, and imperative tone. Now, what I love actually is seeing these two right next to each other. This was another moment where we worked out. Now, we haven't looked at the whole article yet, but Katie Edwards writes again for another publication. So the shut up, I'm fed up of being ridiculed, was from the Telegraph. Now, this is Katie's example, okay, from The Guardian. And you can actually see that she's kind of like got her own unique perspective. Remember that from the pegs, her own unique voice. Get away with accentism. I'm proud to speak Yorkshire. Now, accentism is the term that actually does exist to describe, to relate to prejudice or discrimination against people based on the way they speak. So get away is the northern for get away. So we could say get away with accentism. I'm proud to speak Plymothian. Now, guys, you can be true to your roots here. You could have gone with Cornish. Okay, I'm proud to speak Plymothian. I could have, I'm proud to speak Jana. Okay, so Plymothian. So I'm just going to add that to my dictionary because these are words that it's not recognizing. Change that one. Okay, so get away. Now, get away. Now, if we wanted to do a further step of transformation, okay, the truth is get away, get away. Get away. So it's the idea of let's get rid of accentism. Let's bog off with accentism. Now, when we think about colloquial expressions from where we live, how would you tell somebody to get away? Now, I have an expression. Now, I don't know if it's Plymothian or if it's Jana or it's just local, but let's see if you recognize this. Jog on, jog on, jog on with accentism. I'm proud to speak Jana. So there we go. Now, if you're really sat there thinking, well, actually, I think we should speak a particular way, or if you're actually somebody and you have the neutral RP accent, you could actually still say, stop, or let's put an end to accentism. I'm proud to speak my way. So actually, what we could do is rather than make it about a particular place, we could start to just make it as a celebration that actually the way an individual speaks should be celebrated. So we could say, jog on with accentism, I'm proud to speak. So we could say, stop discriminating based, stop discriminating based on how people speak. I'm proud to speak my way. Now, we've got, again, that process of transformation. Now, I did say actually we'd try and make it to the stand first today, but it's taken a bit longer, not necessarily in a negative way, to work through this. And I do want you to have a go at each different type of headline and then choose one that you really like. So we're going to just do the fourth headline and then I'm going to call it an end for today. So here was our declarative functional headline, the rise of accent softening, why more and more people are changing their voices. Now, I'm going to nick the word or that phrase, the rise of. Now, we've got accent softening here. It's quite euphemistic, the idea of modifying and changing the way we speak, softening our accents. But we could, if we wanted to be a bit stronger, we could say the rise of accent discrimination. Okay? Why more... I'm trying to be too quick now. So the rise of accent discrimination. Why more and more people are being told to change their voices. So actually, I've just a slight tweak. I've made it a little bit harder. I've made it a little bit more challenging. I've swapped softening for discrimination, the rise of accent discrimination, why more and more people are being told to change their voices. So those subtle changes are beginning to introduce my own perspective, that I am against this process. Now, we could have done it, the rise of accentism. Why more and more people are being, so what is accentism? Discrimination, are being discriminated against of their voice. So can you see this process of transformation? I quite like it. It's kind of like it suits my head, like how I like to play word games, because I'm looking at the original, I'm thinking, what can I change? Now, both of the accent discrimination, accentism becomes slightly more accusatory. Okay, so the tone is changing. Now, we could then, if we wanted to go back to a more softer approach, so we could say the rise of accent modification, or accent change, or accent adaptation. Quite like that one. We do that one a lot, don't we? Why? Now, if we wanted, we could try and be a bit more varied here, rather than why more and more people are changing their voices. So we could say why. So we're really talking that rise is about an increase in popularity. Why there has been an increase in popularity around accent change. Now, again, do I like that one? I'm not sure. But this is what I want you to do. And then tomorrow we'll come back and look at the stand first. Okay, is across the 4 examples of the headlines. Okay, we've done some shared processes of transformation. For each example, so the question, the exclamatory, and then into the declarative, the imperative, and then the functional declarative, I want you to have your favorite. I want you to decide which one you would bank and use. Okay, so if you were going to start writing your article in 2 lessons time, which of these accents have you banked? Sorry, which of these headlines are you going to use? Okay, I'm not going to rush us into stand first, because if we start it, we won't finish it. We're going to do that tomorrow. Thank you for listening, guys. See you later. Bye.